The unimaginable is revealed by Elizabeth Taylor. What John F. Kennedy did to her when she was 15. Dame Elizabeth Taylor was born Elizabeth Taylor. February 27, 1932, Rosamond Taylor, and she was born in London, England, to American parents. The career and lifespan exceeded 6 decades, and she came to be associated with talent for beauty and an indisputable presence that enthralled viewers worldwide since her early days as a child star to become a topper. Taylor's career as a leading actress in movies was as remarkable as her private life. Taylor's early years were tough. Characterized by a remarkable beauty that attracted Hollywood producers' attention she signed her first contract at the young age of 9. Universal Pictures film contract and debuted on screen in the movie 1942. One person is born every minute, but her contribution to national 1944 Velvet, which propelled her into fame, demonstrating her capacity to communicate both susceptibility and strength when she reached adolescence. Taylor was already a household name. Receiving recognition for her performance capacity and her stunning violet eyes that further enhanced her enigma as Taylor entered adulthood. Her career took off with a series of popular movies, such as A Place in the Sun, Giant of 1951, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof in 1956. These movies cemented her in 1958. Renowned for being among the most gifted, Taylor's generation of actresses' performances were renowned for their depth of feeling, and she contributed in her character's intensity, which made her featured in the film Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. She received her second Academy Award in 1966. A victory for Best Actress came following years of overcoming both personal and career obstacles. The movie's genuine, intensely felt performances by Taylor and Richard Burton, their co-star, demonstrated her tenacity and commitment. Elizabeth Taylor's devotion for her craft life was distinguished by a series of well-known unions and partnerships that were as ostentatious and widely known as her profession, and she walked down the aisle in Hollywood 8 times, using 7 distinct spouses in each of these partnerships, capturing the media's interest, and she married Conrad for the first time in public. The Hilton Hotel's successor is Nicky Hilton. Fortune, whom she married at the age of 18 years old, despite the dissolution of their marriage after a short time, it established the tone for Taylor's history of prominent relationships. Her second marriage was to Michael Wilding, is an actor from Britain, who was a lot older than her. This partnership was more steady than her first, and together they produced 2 kids, Christopher and Michael Jr., but after the couple divorced after 10 years of marriage, signifying the beginning of a new phase in her turbulent romantic past. The following an important figure in Taylor's life was filmmaker Mike Todd. Is renowned for his Taylor's extravagant lifestyle was a major part of love for Todd, and their marriage appeared to be destined for eternal bliss. The Elizabeth Frances is the daughter of the couple, who would go on to be called Liza. Todd sadly passed away on a plane. 1958 crash. Hardly a year after this loss crushed Taylor, and his marriage left her with a severe emotional scar, causing her to get engaged in connections with a number of other renowned guys. In the ensuing years after Todd passed away, Taylor got married. Eddie Fisher, a pop singer, who had previously wed to her close Debbie Reynolds. The actress friend Taylor and Fisher's marriage was largely attacked by the general public, considering it to be a broken affair arranging yet another celebrity union, but the partnership didn't last long, and the couple got divorced 5 years after Fisher's difficulties and adultery with drug misuse. Possibly the most well-known of Taylor's unions was her marriage to Richard Burton. Their passionate relationship that is full of both drama and passion turned into one of the most discussed partnerships in the 1960s. And Taylor and Burton's marriage in the 1970s was characterized by their ongoing publicity, disagreements about their mutual love of extravagance, and their erratic emotional states. Despite the upheaval, they were intensely in love, and their union disintegrated. They came back to life in 1975 when they briefly got married again before ending their relationship amicably, full of both peacemaking, and the public was enthralled with parting, and there a dramatic tale of love turned into a defining facets of Taylor's private life following Burton Taylor wed American John Warner, Virginia senator, in 1976. This union was significantly more private, in contrast to her prior partnerships, and was an effort to distance oneself from the while in the spotlight. Warner was a steady, powerful, and politically connected individual. However, their union ultimately came to an end in divorce 6 years later in 1982, despite Warner's feeling of stability introduced to her life. It appeared that Taylor's heart continued to yearn for something more when her last marriage arrived. Born 1991 to Larry, a construction worker, Ferensky, a man who is very different from the Hollywood's glitz and splendor, Sky met Taylor in a rehabilitation center where they both were receiving therapy for their different personal problems. In their marriage was initially perceived as quite unexpected by the general people because of their substantial age disparity and the straightforwardness of Ferensky's backdrop in contrast to Taylor's affluent Hollywood standing, but their relationship stayed largely confidential. With a ceremony for the couple's marriage hosted at Neverland, the home of Michael Jackson Ranch, despite the love in this marriage and later joy for Taylor in her years came to an end in 1996, was her 8th and last journey down the aisle. In spite of her lavish list of Elizabeth Taylor's beloved husbands, life wasn't monotonous at all. She has a reputation for having numerous affairs and partnerships outside of marriage with some of the most significant and potent men of Howard Hughes was one of them at the time. The solitary wealthy entrepreneur with the renowned crooner, Frank Sinatra, infamous for his own turbulent romantic life. Additionally, she had a widely reported affair with former U.S. President Henry Kissinger, connection between the Secretary of State, and was frequently discussed in political. Additionally, Taylor was in circles romantically connected to Malcolm Forbes, Forbes magazine's affluent publisher, in a brief and transient connection and fervent. These matters were extensively media coverage, which further enhanced her standing as a lady who led a life that of ongoing scandal, glitz, and yearning in addition to her sexual relationships. Additionally, Elizabeth Taylor was a loyal mother. She was the mother of 3 children. 2 sons, Christopher and Michael Jr., Elizabeth Frances, a daughter. Moreover, Taylor also gave birth to her biological children. Maria, the adoptive girl, was the Taylor's close friend's daughter, was deeply devoted to her kids, and despite her personal life's turmoil she put a lot of effort into making sure they were protected from the close attention of the media that went with her wherever she went. Her world revolved on children, and she was especially interested in establishing a secure and caring atmosphere for them all of her life. Elizabeth Taylor's interpersonal connections were as captivating as her on-screen persona portrays the drama of her 8 marriages, numerous extramarital affairs, and her commitment to her kids complemented the allure of one of the most famous figures in Hollywood and nuanced characters that occupied her romantic life, reflecting both tragedy and victory. The intense emotional content and her susceptibility, which made her an memorable character in both movies' universe as well as the celebrity culture world. Elizabeth Taylor is a well-known representative of the golden age of Hollywood, led a life that was both turbulent and glitzy. She was often the focus of rumors and controversy, especially in relation to her interpersonal connections. Among the most spectacular and contentious claims regarding her life were her alleged connections to the future presidents John F. Kennedy of the United States and Ronald Reagan. Based on different reports of her connections to these, some people viewed powerful men as illicitly looming large above her private life. These tales, but continue to be hotly debated and full of speculations and assertions that were challenging to confirm the date on which Elizabeth Taylor first becoming well known. She was a young lady who many people view embodied sensuality as and maturity well above the years she received it. She was regarded as physically fit at the age of 18. Mature, exhibiting a degree of attractiveness that held the attention of men of all ages, but it is rare for young actors to be characterized as such in the 1940s and 1950s, yet in Taylor's instance, the descriptions frequently veered towards sensationalism, portraying her as sexually immoral and promiscuous aggressive, especially this representation years later, in books and interviews, led to a more sensational story concerning her relationships. One instance that frequently brought up is her purported visit to the apartment of Ronald Reagan when he was at the age of 15, Taylor was still a teenager. Is reported to have gone to Reagan, who was a well-known actor, and as many allegedly knew a married man who asked to appear in one of his movies. Despite the fact that their interactions became the focus of obscene rumors, this encounter is mentioned in the book. Implies Reagan, who was in his perhaps they were lured in their mid-30s by her young beauty, but was said to be reluctant to pursue any additionally, supposedly in spite of Reagan's. Taylor reluctantly took the offensive, starting the process of creating a more close connection. The encounter as outlined in the book turned become one of the first of numerous slanderous reports of relationships with Taylor, but it's crucial to remember that these tales stay unconfirmed and are mostly Elizabeth was speculative at the age of 18. Many people regarded Taylor as a woman with exceptional maturity and beauty who probably drew in males far older than oneself, although there is a persistent discussion of whether these relationships were actually agreed upon, or if they were the consequence of manipulation and coercion by social influences. Detractors contend that even in the event that Taylor was after these men, the burden of accountability ought to fall on the more senior, seasoned men who were in influential and powerful positions. The age difference in addition to the dynamics of power at work make the story that raises ethical inquiries concerning the men's behavior. Included the connection between Ronald Reagan and Elizabeth Taylor allegedly intensified following their initial Taylor was meeting in one telling characterized as having a passionate makeout session meeting with Reagan prior to the two reportedly went to his bedroom during later. Taylor was open with her friends regarding the connection. She appeared to do so with a detached sense of humor, claiming that if Lolita had appeared in at the time of production, she may have acted as the young person's sexual charged lead character and even took home an Oscars. Comments regarding the liaison with Reagan seems to imply that she thought it as a succinct and finally little aspect of her larger frequently scandalous romantic life. Following her short relationship with Reagan, Taylor allegedly went on to another strong, the future U.S. President John F. Kennedy. Reagan Kennedy was a president, married at the time, and it's said that the affair is among the most talked about topics. Elements of Taylor's romantic life as per Kennedy, who was 15 years old, to accounts older than Taylor, reportedly took images of her that are suggestive when she wearing a bathing suit. According to these rumors, the suspected terrorists of Kennedy and Taylor include an important component of the greater unsubstantiated story regarding the relationships between actresses and influential. It was proposed, guys, that these pictures, in addition to their alleged sexual romance, turned into a public secret between Taylor's social group and colleagues. Possibly one of the most contentious assertions regarding Elizabeth Taylor's participation with Kennedy originates from a book that claims Taylor revealed after taking part in a three-way liaison with Kennedy and another individual. This tale is similar to the others, are yet hard to confirm, and is a component of the wider network of salacious stories that have been interwoven with Taylor's love life in a single book. Even implies that Taylor might have been participating in what was characterized as an unsuitable romantic triangle that included JFK's employees, although such assertions cannot be verified, and they continue to participate in the culture of gossip that surrounded Taylor's extravagant lifestyle persona alongside her connections with Kennedy, Elizabeth and Reagan. The purported affair between Taylor and Frank. Additionally, Sinatra became the focus of a lot of public conjecture. Some reports claim that Taylor set her focuses on Sinatra with the goal of being married to him, although the partnership turned sour, according to speculations. That she tried to extort Sinatra, asserting that she was expecting his child. Sinatra is said to have bought her off to keep her quiet and advised that she end the pregnancy. In this narrative, despite being widely shared, it hasn't been demonstrated by numerous academics, and biographers have ultimately questioned its legitimacy. Elizabeth Taylor's romantic entanglements with presidents or other musicians or actors became a defining. These connections are a part of her legacy. Have been the focus of books, interviews and documentaries, but the true nature of things is still unknown. Numerous tales concerning Taylor's love life, particularly those involving powerful JFK and Reagan, among others, rely on what are rumors and second-hand reports. But it's evident that Taylor's life and relationships keep people interested. Public consciousness, in spite of the fact that there are still a lot of these dramatic claims unverified. Once more, it's critical to stress that these incidents are included in the rumors encircling Elizabeth Taylor and not inevitably historical truths. Her life was sensationalized in several ways. In the press, especially her connections with influential men, and these ought to be handled with Elizabeth Taylor, via a critical viewpoint, faced a lifetime of severe health issues that started in the 1950s and continuing to shape her life throughout, not just her individual path but also impacting the public's perception of her amazing perseverance in spite of her glitzy appearance, its legendary standing as among Hollywood's most brilliant stars. Her well-being was an ongoing source of difficulty and worry. In her 20s, Taylor started suffering from a number of ailments and wounds that needed immediate medical attention. Therapy. During the decades she suffered a remarkable quantity of medical procedures that are allegedly going through. Over 20 major surgeries were frequently intricate and dangerous, encompassing anything from spinal surgery to fix harm caused by an accident to emergency protocols pertaining to her serious and ongoing health. Taylor was regularly involved in and out of medical facilities after being admitted to the hospital at least 70 times over the course of her life. An astounding amount. It demonstrates how much of her life was fought against physical. Her diseases were many and varied. She had pneumonia several times, including one that almost killed. Instance in 1961 that led to, and she struggled with emergency tracheotomy as well. Having persistent back issues that have dated due to an accident while riding a horse, she suffered during the National Velvet filming. These spinal problems in teenagers needed several procedures and resulted in her persistent discomfort and issues with mobility over many years. In addition to these, Taylor's struggles with addiction problems, especially a reliance on alcohol and prescription painkillers, which emerged in part because of her medical care and the severe bodily suffering she went through. She looked for addiction treatment at the Betty. In the 1980s, Ford Center emerged as one of the first well-known figures to openly admit to abusing substances and to look for assistance that aided in dispelling stigmas pertaining to addiction. In Taylor's already precarious condition took a serious turn after receiving a diagnosis of one major condition is congestive heart failure, a state where the heart becomes too weak to effectively pump blood. In spite of the diagnosis, she kept making appearances in public and even participated in charitable endeavors, with a special emphasis on raising awareness of HIV/AIDS via her Elizabeth. But as the Taylor AIDS Foundation, as her health worsened, her activities grew. In 2009, she became more and more restricted. Had a successful cardiac surgery. The process to fix a faulty valve it was carried out with the least amount of intrusive method was identified as an achievement, and Taylor expressed her appreciation with followers on social media, displaying her unwavering spirit even in the face of potentially fatal illness. Regrettably, in spite of her resilience and years of medical treatment, Elizabeth Taylor's condition deteriorated worse. In the ensuing years, she spent the final several months of her life, mostly limited to using a wheelchair and under 24/7. On March 23, 2011, Elizabeth Taylor passed away at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles at 79 years old because of one ailment she has is congestive heart failure. had engaged in combat with distinctive tenacity for years after her death signaled the conclusion of not only a famous cinematic career, but a life characterized by bravery, perseverance, and a resolute will to persevere in the face of constant physical discomfort, and her medical background serves as evidence of the struggles she battled in secret beneath the glitz and the focus of her public image.